Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to Dianne's Certified High Performance Coaching Training Series. I am Dianne Thomas, and this series has been created to support my Dianne's CHPC Recertified Project 2017, and that is a project. It's a online fundraising campaign hosted on Generosity by Indiegogo. And it's been created to help me raise the funds that I will need to renew my certification as a high-performance coach in June. Now, as I mentioned before, this is a series. We've done Clarity Mondays and Energy Tuesdays. And so today is going to be Productivity Thursdays. Now, I do not have a catchy little name for that. So if you have an idea of, and I like to just do that just so it helps people remember. If you have any suggestions, please let me know. Now, on Productivity Thursdays, we are going to be looking at the role procrastination and negative self-talk play, along with things like distraction play, in the role of us not getting as much done every day as we know we need to do. Okay, now we know we all could be a lot more productive. So I'm a solopreneur, and I don't know when that term first came into being, but I adopted it for myself. And I did a little research, and you'll see an article that's linked to this video below, where I did some research on the differences between a solopreneur and an entrepreneur. And what they've identified is essentially, I guess, intention, or maybe long-term intention. So a solopreneur is someone who basically works a job for themselves, and an entrepreneur works a business. Now, the difference between the two for me right now is just capital and having the money to hire a staff. I do intend on doing that because I do have a nonprofit training, coaching, and consulting business around fundraising. So I do plan on doing that at some point in time, along with my certified high performance coaching. But for now, I am a solopreneur, so I guess I've created a job for myself, which, is all good. Now, I bring this distinction to the conversation because there are some people who believe that solopreneurs or entrepreneurs have the option of using their time how they see fit because they don't necessarily have to go in and punch a clock for anybody. But we are punching a clock. We're punching a clock for ourselves. And we have to make sure that we are using our time. We don't have the luxury. But as a matter of fact, I think, certainly, and I believe most people will realize that solopreneurs and entrepreneurs work much harder, oftentimes, for much longer hours, I should say, and with much more at stake than people who are employed by others, because if we don't produce, we don't eat. So therefore, we have to be very careful about what we choose to do and how we choose to use our time. So I don't have anything or don't make any decisions about doing anything until I have taken into consideration, how is this going to benefit me in the long term? The thing that it may be immediate, and it may be in the long term. Either way, it's got to be working towards a goal or outcome that I've set for myself. Now, as I mentioned in my first Clarity Mondays video, I have 3 principles that I live my life by: lifelong learning, continuous improvement, and personal responsibility. And so everything that I do is around getting to, or founded, I should say, into those 3 principles. So before I choose to do anything, I ask myself 3 questions. How is this going to improve my life, whatever challenge or project or whatever I'm looking to take on? Do I feel personally responsible for getting this done? And then if so, why do I feel that way? And what can I learn from this? Those are the 3 questions that I ask myself. And then once I've answered those questions, then I employ what has been known as the Eisenhower Principle, which is named for President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who has said utilized or created a principle to get through managing all the things he had to do as president. And because he had this understanding that of course, as a president and as anyone, you know, we all have a lot of problems. Things come to our proverbial table, and we have to determine how we're going to approach them. So he came up with the understanding that there are important problems and there are urgent problems, but not all important problems are urgent, and urgent problems are never important, according to him. So that idea really then morphs into categorizing, well, what is an important problem and what is an urgent problem? An important problem generally is something that you are addressing for your own personal outcome. There's something that you need to address so that it's not going to affect you adversely. Whereas if there's something that's deemed urgent, it's usually brought in from the outside. It's usually somebody else's perspective about the role or the importance of this particular thing that they're bringing to you. It's something that in their mind needs to be addressed right now. Now, this technique is very helpful in eliminating a lot of distraction, because if you're able to actually assess whether something being brought to you, whether you're bringing it to yourself or somebody else, is something that's urgent or important, then you're able to delegate. So if you don't have time to do it, but it needs to get done, somebody else needs to do it. Or if you don't want to do it and you don't think it's important in any level, you could say no, which is something that high achievers and very productive people have learned to do quite well. Now, I define at least 5 significant things that I need to do with once I've decided that I'm going to take on, you know, any project. I try to make sure that there are things that I can get done every single day, but I go through this process first before I take on any projects to make a determination about what I need to do and how I need to get it done. And so what I do is look, as I mentioned before, after I've gone through the Eisenhower Principle and decided that these are projects that need to be addressed, I don't take on any more than 3 big things to do a week. And as I mentioned before, of those 3 things, I'll find the 5 things that I need to get done this week in completing my obligation to that project. And then I look at who I need to help me do it. If I'm either needing to share it or I need to just hand it off to somebody. And then what are the priorities around those particular projects? What are the top things? Because there's always lots to do. But what are the priorities that I need to get done this day to make that move forward in the way that I need to? Now, I know this seems very cumbersome and time-consuming, but we need to develop systems and structures around how we use our time so we are seeing measurable results at the end of the process, or else, you know, why are we bothering to do any of it at all? So as I mentioned, there's a link to learning more about how you use the Eisenhower Principle below this video. And so I hope you take a moment to look at that. So I challenge you actually to apply it in your life. Think of, you know, 1, 2, 3 things, or maybe more things that are being brought to you. Try to whittle those things down, whether they're yours or other people's, because, you know, certainly if you're working at work, you have things that you need to do as a part of your employment or whatever your work is, and then you have work at home that you need to make time for as well. So use this principle to weed through all of that, to try to whittle it down to maybe 3 big things. That's what I choose, you know, works for me. And then share what your experience has been using the Eisenhower Principle. How has it worked for you? I would love to hear about it, and I think it would help a lot of people in their growth as well. So let's get together and see how well we can get that done. And hopefully you'll be willing to share your comments below. So until next time, have a great day, and thanks so much for participating.